Hi there, my name is Brian, and in this video I'm going to talk about whether or not white papers work. Well, if you're just wondering, can white papers possibly work? I'm going to save you several minutes and just say, yes, they can work, and that's the whole point of this video. I'm going to give you two examples of white papers that I worked on with clients that were kind of differing length and of differing strategy and kind of worked for different reasons. So saying that a white paper works or a white paper doesn't work, it's kind of like saying a fishing lure works or a fishing lure doesn't work. I mean, there are so many factors that contribute to success. My brother-in-law is an expert fly fisherman. And so every time he goes, he catches dozens of fish. In fact, he used to have a trout stream running through his yard basically, and he'd go down there with the flies that he had tied and to test them out and the rods that he'd made himself, and he would always catch fish. Now, that doesn't mean that he could just take any old thing, a safety pin on a string and throw it in and get the fish. He knew everything about the fish. He knew everything about the target that he was trying to get, his prospects. He knew everything about the time of year when they'd be running and what they would be doing. He knew everything about the kind of bugs they would want to eat. And then on the other side, to fake the bugs, he knew everything and knows everything. I'm talking like he's gone, he's still with us, about the kinds of bird feathers and other things that you use to fake those bugs and to make really good looking and really enticing flies. And then finally, he just knew about how to get those flies in the water and flick them around in a way that just made him irresistible to the fish. So in his case, you would say, well, do fishing flies always work? Well, in my brother-in-law's case, they seem to always work. If it was somebody like me trying to do a fishing fly, didn't know anything about it, just showed up and was throwing something in the water, they might work, probably wouldn't work at all. And so that's kind of the same thing that I have found with white papers. You need to know who the white paper is targeting. You need to be speaking their language. You need to know seasonality, what time of year they're interested in different topics. And then those topics, you need to know their hot buttons. You need to know the things that, keep them up at night worrying, or things that when they're daydreaming, they just really aspire to. And so your white paper, especially the title, has to grab them so that they will want to open it and read it. And then of course there's the whole methodology in writing the white paper. It's got to read like a report, and I won't go into that whole thing. I have other videos that explain that. So first of all, I said that of the two examples I was going to give, this first one was a longer kind of classic white paper. It was over 2,000 words, and it was for a client that you have heard of, a major player, a major tech company in the real estate space. And the client we wanted to read it was independent real estate brokerages. And at the time, and still, technology was having big changes in real estate. And so a big fear for these brokerages who had been profitable on a model that's decades old, could they still be profitable going through this technological revolution? And so in our white paper, we kind of addressed that. We said that these kinds of brokerages are going away, and we didn't just deliver bad news, but then we gave them good news, a model on how, with the software that we have, our software platform would be a part of potential for success. And so part of the white paper, when it's a worry white paper, you have to deliver bad news. And so we were giving examples like what Uber did to the taxi business and what Netflix did to the movie business, are kind of examples of digital disruption, and that kind of thing we could argue was coming to real estate. But then on the positive side, we talked about how technology doesn't replace people in high trust transactions that require high trust. And we had some examples of financial planners who are several years ahead of the real estate industry in kind of digital adoption and disruption. And so some examples of how they had their clients had sort of made full circle, tried to use technology to pick stocks or do asset allocations, and we're back to wanting to work with human beings. Well, anyway, so that was kind of in general what we talked about in a couple thousand words. And we put the white paper out in the time of year when, because real estate's very seasonal, and so brokerages they're kind of retooling and thinking about what can I do, how can I be recruiting new agents, how can I be more profitable. And as I recall, when we released that, we got some good initial interest, and then the thing has just been a steady burn. And they use it to get leads for their salespeople, and it has just continued to grind away for years now. It's continued to work, that white paper, because we built it to be as relevant today as it was 2 years ago and a couple years into the future. And we cited a lot of authoritative things and didn't make it something that would have a short expiration date. And even now I've seen that the company has taken it and kind of sliced it and diced it and taken parts of it and retooled it into like a tips thing and like blog posts. And so anyway, it's an example of, in that case, you got to be patient, because what you've invested in your white paper may take a while to come back in terms of sales, but it can be very effective for top of the funnel people that just in no way would be showing up and asking for a quote or wanting to read your other stuff, especially your sales stuff. Okay, so that was like the classic white paper. The other one that I want to talk about is in this space. This company, you haven't heard of them, but I guarantee you have shopped for groceries and you have ordered food in places that they have designed or redesigned. They're one of the country's leading consulting firms in retail design, especially in the grocery segment, and then in better quick serve restaurants. Trust me, you've seen their stuff. It's very, very cool to go into one of the spaces that they have designed or redesigned. Well, anyway, we began a series of white papers with them, and we knew for their audience that we wanted to do more frequent white papers that were a little bit shorter. And so that way we could do more of them and kind of hit these different industry segments that they were interested in. And so I think of it's like a Dairy Queen Blizzard, right? You can get like the regular Blizzard, but you can also get like the mini Blizzard, right? It's just little when you don't want a lot. And so these were kind of like the mini Blizzard versions of white papers. They were probably 12 to 1,300 words long, and we would pack them with statistics and have really very engaging graphics. So as we started to send these out to their client list, and not a huge list, because we didn't need thousands of people to read them to be successful. We just needed a few of the right people to open them. The first one was for franchisors, so people that have come up with a restaurant concept. They've opened a couple locations, and now they're looking to franchise. And then to get to beyond that small number, how do you scale? The topic of the white paper actually was about how you scale from 10 to 100. There's that leap there that's really difficult, because you may be great at running a handful of these places because you're hands-on. And to accelerate and kind of let go of the reins but continue keeping your culture and the quality, it's hard to do as you scale, and yet that's where all the money and that's where all the potential is. So using the expertise of my client, plus looking at a lot of published things, we put together a white paper, one of our little mini white papers on this, and it was how you scale from 10 to 100. And we knew that this was a hot topic among their potential clients. We produced it, it looked great, we thought it was good, sent it out, and here's what's amazing. That afternoon, the afternoon we sent it to their list, they got a call to come bid on doing a chain. As a copywriter, you're not supposed to act surprised when things work super well, but I was like, what? Are you kidding me? Since then, it's continued to be a good lead gen tool for their website, but that example shows that you can have something that pays right out of the chute as far as business dividends if you make it really compelling and you make it interesting, and especially that title, and then that you can answer the question and the promise that you make in the white paper if people see that it's valuable. And in that case, This was a topic that their potential clients were interested in, and then the white paper demonstrated that my client knows how to solve problems for them. And again, in the solution, we listed sort of what our client uniquely does as part of that solution, part of that thing you want for the team. And it was very effective for business for them. So those are 2 white papers that worked really well. I would say a white paper written properly, put in the hands of the proper people, is going to work. And so it's kind of up to you to make sure it fits those 2 things, because there's lots of things that I see out there called white papers that are A, they're not actually white papers, and B, they're not very well written, and so they're not very compelling. If you need to write a white paper right away, I've written a little guide, a little book that will take you step by step through the process. It's like paint by numbers. It's so simple. It's how to write a white paper in 1 day. And it's available on Amazon. You can get it as a Kindle book. You can get it, have it printed out like this one, a printed edition. It comes as an audiobook through Audible, and that's all through Amazon. So get that if you need to write one right away. Thank you again for watching, and good luck working on those white papers.